Says it's recording. So, all right. I'm going to introduce myself and welcome to the Back of the House Boys podcast, BOH Bois. I'm Angel, aka 60 Persona. Um, so, the goal with this channel is to honestly be authentic, chop it up, talk about sports, life, whatever we want to. I'm here with Buck. He's one of my good
Right
friends,
on.
and our goal is just to kind of talk about stuff we want to, mainly sports, obviously, big college football guys. So I'll introduce myself. Obviously, like I said, it's Angel, aka 60, whatever you want to do, just comment. I'm an Alabama fan. I'm also a Miami Dolphins fan. I'm a not too knowledgeable on the rest of the sports, basketball and baseball, but we'll talk about those if you guys want to. But like I said, just mainly Alabama. Love the SEC, but college football in general, I'm not a hater unless you're Jimbo Fisher. But other than that, I don't really care. But yeah, and I'll let or Buck introduce himself. And
Yeah, uh, I'm Tanner. Um, yeah, we're Buck, so whatever. Also college football fan. Big NFL fan. College basketball as well. Baseball. I know the rules. I played it when I was younger. I keep up with it slightly, but nothing too big. But college football, NFL is definitely where it's at. I'm a Tennessee fan. Um, so if you don't know, the 49-52 was the score for last year's game.
16-1 or 15-1, something like that. I was telling Buck the last time he was like he remembers that he honestly doesn't remember that. So,
I
but
remember the one last year
I,
though.
I
That's the
mean,
one that
I
was.
mean, I mean, it happens. You get one here and there. But yeah, I mean, like you said, just want to chat about stuff we want, stuff we like. Big college football. That's kind of the goal with this. But obviously, we don't care to, you know, drive off of that subject. Talk about other sports. NFL obviously is the same thing as football, but college
Mhm.
basketball, soccer. If you want to talk about soccer, UFC. I'm getting big into that. Baseball,
Yeah,
obviously, World Series or like playoff baseball is coming up soon, so we'll talk about anything, honestly. But just want to get a review on the past week of college football to start off with. So
you
obviously,
know, everybody.
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead. I'm just pulling up some
I was
stuff.
just gonna say everybody obviously is talking about well, like the main two would be like Colorado and Clemson, but I guess we could start if you wanted to start with Colorado. I mean, that's probably beating a dead horse by now, but
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you turn on any social media site, and you follow any sports like
I mean,
page or football or whatever it is, they're all talking about Colorado. Obviously, Deion Sanders is, he's been a playmaker all his life, since obviously he was a kid, probably. I'm sure he was the best player on the team, and
mhm.
got all the girls, obviously, If you were the fastest, you got the girls. That's how it always went. But yeah, I mean, he's been a player since birth, and obviously it reflects with his children. Shador, he had a hell of a game. Talking
Shiloh
about
too, man. Shout out Shiloh. I think he
yeah,
led the team in tackles.
yeah. Shiloh did have the most tackles. I think that's what I definitely heard. Shador, I mean, he had that big thing about you know, something along the lines of not bad for a what is that, HBCU player.
That's what it was. Yeah.
It's like Prime said, if you play, if you're a player, they'll find you. It's just it's how it goes, and nothing but respect to him. Obviously, I know he keeps his receipts, so if Prime ends up seeing this, I'm not hating. Just please don't call us out on this. We're just kind of average, guys just wanting to record what we talk about. But yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Go ahead.
Uh. No, I was just gonna say about Colorado. I think I saw somewhere that Shador, like his passing record was like a Colorado record. Like not just like for a first start, but like I think for a game, like in Colorado history. That might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that might be it.
I think that's exactly what happened. 510 yards passing is what he
Yeah,
ended up with that day.
yeah, I'm pretty sure
And
that's
I mean,
the
that's not,
Colorado record in his first game ever.
yeah, definitely. I
First
mean,
game ever for Colorado, anyway.
even then, it also shows I mean, not to beat a dead horse, with Clemson as well. Um,
Mm,
we've been talking, or at least I've been talking to a couple friends about how it kind of shows you the two sides of the game with Clemson and Colorado, where
mm-hmm.
Colorado obviously I think had some of the most portal transfers in the
I think they
history,
led.
and Dabo actually doesn't take any transfer portal players. So
Yeah,
just kind of have to. I was watching where someone was saying kind of got to adapt or die, and clearly
changing
Clemson
for
is
sure.
taking something from this. Hopefully Dabo. I mean, I don't want to change his philosophy on coaching or anything, but it's kind of just the name of the game nowadays. I mean, even look at Tennessee, Alabama, taking in portal players. I know Heupel lost a lot of players, whenever he came in. So obviously he had to learn from the
Yeah, that
portal and
was. Yeah, I mean,
not.
I think that was
Mhm.
good.
No, you're good. Go ahead. I'm looking up
I
some
was just gonna
stuff.
say, yeah, no, just talking about the Tennessee stuff. I mean, people do lose a lot, but I mean, that was just,
I mean,
you know, I mean,
we had a
old
couple people
coaches
come.
or old players from
Mhm.
like the previous head coach. Not gonna mention any names. Uh, but also like came into allegations or whatever. But I mean, he's clear with allegations now, and you know, uh, oh, I mean, back to the transfer portal. I mean, the last two quarterbacks for Tennessee, or at least Heupel's quarterbacks, have both been transfers. We saw, I mean, Hendon Hooker last year, and then Joe Milton, who another, I mean, dead horse to beat. But I mean, if he can, I mean, if Heupel can like unlock any of his potential, I mean, I think he could be like Anthony Richardson, but older. If that makes any sense. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it. I mean it just shows you I mean, it's just kids are on their last chance. They realize that they kind of have to take advantage of the situation, and it just kind of brings out the dog mentality. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, when it comes to portal players, Alabama, we have had a lot of hype and over expectations. Not saying that's a bad thing. I mean, when you kind of are the standard, you set the standard. You are going to be hated. You are going to be ridiculed. You're going to be, dogged if you lose 2 games in a season. But if it wasn't for transfer portal players like Jameer Gibbs, big hit, obviously doing big things in the NFL and is poised to have a big season this year. Jamison Williams, you know, if he didn't get hurt, John Mechie didn't get hurt, hoisting the trophy that year. I'm not gonna lie. Sorry to the dog fans, but I'm just gonna keep it real. But I mean, it just shows you that transfer portal players. It's just no one really, no one really respects them. Sometimes I guess it's kind of like well, not really. I mean, a lot of the schools are adapting to it, but like Dabo just doesn't see that, or
That was like the
is.
last to adjust, it seems, at least for like major programs, like contender programs. Obviously, I mean, Clemson, I mean, let's be honest, kind of had a dynasty there for a second. I mean, they still, like, no one's saying it's over from one loss. I mean, people could react that way, but I mean, I don't really, I don't know.
Yeah,
Could trend downward. It looks like it might be trending downward a little bit, but I mean, it's
I
just,
mean,
this is also just
at
one
the end of the
loss.
day, I think Clemson's still good enough to win football games, but when it comes down to it, it's it's kind of what Alabama and Tennessee are seeing this year. It's just you know they have potential, and they have the coaching staff. They just kind of got to put it all on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of Clemson's success had came from like big name, big body wide receivers. Like T. Higgins, John Ross. In the past, Mike
Mike Williams.
Williams. And nowadays I watching that game, I didn't recall any of those wide receivers. And I like to keep up with
No,
recruiting here and there, but I couldn't tell you a wide receiver on that team. Not a hater,
nope.
just being honest.
Yeah.
But to go back to the Colorado situation, just looking at the stats, I mean, Dylan Edwards, I know he's a true freshman. He had a
He's a
really
dog.
good game. Yeah, he had 4 touchdowns. At least that's what
That's
ESPN
crazy.
says. He had 3 receiving and 1 rushing. Shador, obviously, 38 of 47, 510 passing, no picks. I mean, it's don't turn the ball over. I mean, defense, you know, it it got exposed a little bit. I mean, to put up 42 points, I mean, it's going to be a competitive game. It's going to be bombs here and there. But,
Yeah.
I mean, they held their own, especially Travis Hunter. He proved that he is him. He has that dog
Yeah. I mean,
mentality.
well, speaking of that, I know Hunter. You said the defense. Travis Hunter had an interception by himself, but I think there was at least one other turnover
Yeah, I
that
mean, Morris
Colorado
threw
had.
2 picks, um,
Okay, so
24 of 42, 279, 2 TDs, 2 picks. I know Morris, he's
do you
been
think?
good.
I was just gonna say, do you think that rating or that ranking that Colorado had, what were they, like 17, something like that? Do you think that was like a sympathy ranking from last year?
TCU.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. They got a lot of transfer portal help. Um, but at the end of the day, I mean that what was it? Max Duggan. I mean, he kind of just took over after Morris got hurt last year and just never looked back. I mean, they had a lot of close finishes that you could have teetered back and forth. With kind of like Alabama. We lost 2 games, 4 points total. Last play of the game. You know, Obviously the roles reversed. We're undefeated. So you get that stop, you block that kick. We're undefeated. We weren't. We had the most potential, but I know Nick Saban likes to talk about anxiety. It's a real thing. Those players were over were hyped. They were not saying they were overhyped because I mean they went 1-2. Will Anderson, Bryce Young. It's kind of insane. In the modern era to do that. But I mean, it's just kind of they're still kids. They're still learning. It's just you know mental at that point. But yeah, I mean, I think that 17 ranking is definitely you have to respect them because they did go to the national championship. Georgia did steamroll, excuse me, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's just
It was the
they
least
were there.
competitive championship game probably ever of any sport.
I mean, that's up there with Clemson, Trevor Lawrence, and Alabama with Tua. That's kind of up there. I will say that was one
Ain't
of
no
the.
way. It wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad, obviously, but Clemson did hand it to us. Like we were talking about earlier. They were looking like a dynasty. They were looking like Georgia. Who's to say Georgia's not the next Clemson? You never know. I mean, Carson Beck, he starting quarterback for the team. Yeah,
I
I'm sure he had some good stats, but
Yeah, actually, I watched the Georgia game a little bit last week because I was with a friend who was a Georgia fan, and I was just I'm biased. I can't stand Georgia. They have a cupcake schedule this year. We all know that. Um, but I mean, I was watching them against UT Martin, and like they, he, I think, well, at least like just like talking to my Georgia fan friend, it's like just like silly, like sloppy stuff was being like mistakes are being made against. I mean, UT Martin. I mean, obviously this is week one. And granted, this is with all the games. These are just week one like takes because I mean that's just where we're at in the season so far. But with Georgia, they were up only like 17-0 against UT Martin, which I mean that's leading, but you'd expect them to be up what 28 to nothing probably against UT Martin at the half. But I mean, and I think they also played what Vandergriff or what's the other one? Gunnar Stockton.
yeah, it looks like they
I
played
can't
all
remember which
three
one played.
quarterbacks.
Oh, they did play all three.
Yeah, looks like Brock went 2 for 3 for 77 and a touchdown, and Gunner went 3 for 5 for 29, but also had 18 rushing yards on two attempts. One big
Mm.
one for 14 yards. But yeah, I mean, just looking at the stats, I mean, I'll be honest, I just kind of watched the highlights because I was watching the Alabama game, which you could argue Middle Tennessee, cupcake, whatever. But they were a top defense last year at the FBS level. I think it was like turnover rate or turnover margin. They were like number two, I think is what I was hearing. And they were a senior heavy team. So, not going to argue. But I think MTSU would take UT Martin, you know, 9 out of 10 times out of the day. Sorry for the state of Tennessee, by the way. UT Martin, Tennessee State, and I think it was some other Tennessee school. They played Notre Dame. Obviously, all of them, kind of different levels, but yeah. Back to Carson Beck. He had some good stats. I will say Georgia did start slow. Alabama started slow. We had about like a slow second half to start, but after that, I think it was like 4 minutes left. We put up 14 in like less than 2 minutes. So it just shows you the potential of the explosive offense. Obviously, Tennessee, they played Virginia. Not saying anything against Virginia, but they're not the team, or I can't recall Virginia being like really good, at least not in my age. But I'm sure
No,
Virginia
they.
at some point was, you know, a product or
I
something.
honestly, I have no clue how good Virginia has ever been historically, but I can't imagine it. They're definitely not a football school, definitely a basketball school. But I
I
mean,
mean, but it's just, I mean, those are those games that you just, confidence builders kind of leads up to potential big games. I think it's,
yeah,
you guys are going down to the swamp soon.
yeah, next week.
Yeah.
So, like you said, warm up game. Tennessee
Yeah.
is playing Austin P
Yeah.
this week,
I mean, that's kind of what you want to do
which
for Jalen Milroe too. You want him to have a good game. You want him to build that confidence, and you want the guys to get some fresh legs. Thankfully, we had two players go down, Malachi Moore and Jalen Key. Both of them supposed to are healthy. Their day by day evaluations, obviously not depending on if they're 100%. But I mean, the healthier we are, the better it is because big game this week against Texas. And that's what you wanted to have week one against Middle Tennessee. You wanted that confidence builder. You wanted to see Jalen throw the ball. I know he's been ridiculed about throwing the ball, even though last year, I mean, he played A&M and he didn't look bad when he took over for Bryce. But I mean, I think he threw 3 touchdowns or 2 touchdowns, something like that. We did have a pick here and there, but I mean, A&M is a stout defense. Obviously, kept returning this year as well, but I think people kind of overshadow his throwing game, just kind of ignore it because they see him as a mobile quarterback, and that's kind of what transitions to the league as well. Like Lamar Jackson, people don't really respect his throwing game, but not comparing him to Lamar Jackson. Obviously, that's a generational talent. I mean, Jalen could become one. We don't know. The season's still young, but yeah, I mean, Georgia steamrolled UT Martin at the end. You know, number one team in the nation. I'll give them that. I think it was Notre Dame. They ended up beating.
they look good.
What was that?
I think Hartman is going to thrive.
Yeah,
They beat.
Tennessee State. Tennessee State. That's who it was.
There you go.
Yeah, Sam Harmon. I mean, I think he had 194 passing yards, something like that. I mean, it's. I mean, they all look good. Michigan, beat East Carolina. Free Harbaugh. I guess
Ohio
that's what they
State.
say. Yeah, Ohio State.
Ohio State didn't. I mean, just from the granted, I didn't really watch, but just from the box score and what I've heard, they. I mean, they beat. I mean, they played who? They played Indiana. They beat them by 20.
Yeah,
But I mean, they started slow. I mean, you look at Cal McCord. Did who's the other quarterback? Devin Brown. Did he play?
I think it was Devin Brown. I think that was his name. Let me check. You can
He
keep
didn't come in.
talking.
He was only 1 for 3. He was only 1 for 3 for -2 yards. So he must have came in. I don't know when he came in for that.
I was watching that game off and on because I was out, with the fiance, just chilling, but I will say what threw me off is when I saw Brown, the quarterback, with the number 33. I've never seen that, but I mean, it is
It's
college.
so high for a quarterback. It seems like. Seems like.
No, yeah, I've seen 21 on a couple quarterbacks, and I think that's kind of wild. But yeah, I mean, Ohio State. Not saying anything bad against them. You know, they obviously have probably the best wide receiver room in the country, and Kyle McCord
Yeah.
has the potential to be a really good quarterback. But they did start off a little slow. Maybe it's just getting used to the system, figuring stuff out. I mean, it is week one. You know, some people had a week zero game, USC. Not saying anything, but just kind of getting into the swing of things. And I'm not doubting Kyle McCord. I think Ohio State's a really good team. They have really good potential. JT Tuimoloau, sad he went to the Bucks, but great defensive player. And I'm sure they're loaded at defensive back. They always are. So I'm sure they're going to be a good team down the road. I can't wait to see that Michigan Ohio State game. That's going to be really good. Ohio State Penn State
Mm-hmm.
is going to be really good. I mean, it's due for a good year this year. I mean, I really can't see any team running away from the. I mean, Texas and Alabama. I'm going to root for Alabama. I'm confident we'll win the game, but
What's the spread for that game?
I think it's 7. I think it's 7 the spread at the moment, and I mean, I'm confident in our team. I'm confident we can win it all. But I mean, sometimes you got to learn. Not saying we're going to lose a game. Not saying we're not. But it's going to be a good year. It's due for a really good year. The Pac-12, I know they have like I think 6 teams in the top 25 at the moment. Uh, Michael Penix, dog,
Oh, that's
Indiana,
that's awesome.
obviously. Yeah, Michael Penix. He ended up leaving Indiana. I think it was during COVID he was playing there, and I remember just seeing him. I can't remember what team. I think it was Penn State, Indiana. I think that was the game that like I really learned Michael Penix's name, where he had that like diving touchdown to tie it up or something like that, or to take the lead at like the end of the game, basically. But he's doing some good things up in Washington. 450 passing yards. That's absurd. And then Caleb, obviously, he's Heisman winner. Kind of don't really expect anything new from him. Bo Nix, I'm not a hater. Don't care for Bo Nix, but he had a big day. Oregon.
Yeah.
And then who else is up there? Oh, Oregon State. DJ. I mean, I've been hearing a lot of that. Was DJ the problem? You know, I guess we'll never
I don't
know.
know. Yeah.
But I mean, even Colorado, Shador. We kind of talked about that already. And I think
Um.
UCLA. I think they played the freshman, and apparently he looked really
Yeah.
good. I didn't watch that because it was like midnight on the East Coast.
I'm looking at these. Yeah, I'm looking at these start times for next week. Like the USC game starts at 10:30. You know, like the Auburn is going to Cal. I didn't realize that. I mean, that should be. I would imagine Auburn would probably be Cal football, but I don't know.
Yeah, I
We
mean,
also thought Clemson was going to beat Duke. So
I mean, here in last year, just kind of that Duke team is best year probably since Daniel Jones. I'm sure. I knew they were kind of like I guess older when it comes to like juniors and seniors.
mhm.
Um, Shout out TND. I don't know if you guys know who that guy is, but kind of my local like one stop shop. He kind of called it. He said that don't be surprised if Duke pulls this off. And I mean, I'm not doubting Clemson going into the game. You it's those things that I mean, that's the thing about college football. You like feel like okay, Clemson's not going to lose this. It's Clemson. They'll figure it out. But I mean,
Josh Pate said the same thing. Not to
yeah,
count out Duke.
yeah. I mean, Josh Pate. Yeah, it's just. I mean, that's the thing about college football. That's the beauty about it. It's any given day. You can lose, you can win, and that's the beauty of it. I mean, obviously, I'm gonna be a homer regardless, but you know, at the end of the day, you never know. But yeah, going into the next week slate, obviously there's a lot of games this past weekend, but just kind of covering all those. And if we missed it, feel free to talk about it in the comments. Let us know. We can review some of that stuff. But yeah, going into next week's games, I mean, you got some pretty good games. You got Ball State, Georgia. That one's going to be really good. Probably a nail biter. Youngstown State, Ohio State. Yeah. Again, another nail biter. Maybe Kyle McCord will figure it out. It's probably what they needed to start with, honestly.
This Notre Dame NC State game, I feel like if Leary was still there, that might be at least close. But I have a feeling Notre Dame is gonna
I think NC
steamroll.
State has like a really good secondary, from what I've heard. So I mean, I would love to see Sam Hartman. What he
Yeah,
can do against that secondary. And
yeah.
then
I mean, that probably would be his first true test at secondary, I would
yeah,
imagine.
I mean definitely. I mean Navy. It's not saying anything bad
Hard to
against
watch.
Navy, but it's kind of outdated. I mean Notre Dame's defense put up some good numbers against that. And if you can stop that, I mean, who's to say you can't? You know, stop the spread. If you stop the spread, you already know you can stop the run. Thanks to Navy. But yeah, I mean, even going down the slate, Nebraska, Colorado, I think they're having the big noon kickoff there with the Fox
Yeah,
crew. So, I mean, that Colorado's ranked after winning one game last year. Obviously, they deserve the hype to go into TCU after last year's success and just kind of give it to them. I mean, they
they
deserve
win
to be
next week.
ranked.
They doubled their win total from
Yeah,
last year.
I mean that's kind of
Progress.
the goal. I'm sure just get better every year, get better every game, and I mean to start off 2-0, I mean that would be really huge for Colorado.
Right.
Um,
But who did Nebraska play? Minnesota last week
yeah,
or
I
week
mean,
one?
Jeff
I
Sims.
yeah. And who's this coach there? It's Matt Rule.
Yeah,
Is
Matt
at
Rule.
Nebraska, right?
Hmm.
Or is your head coach again? And people are just, I don't know, people are just taking Colorado over Nebraska. I mean, but based off of just last week and
I
what we
mean,
saw, I mean, Fedor might light up Nebraska in their first home game in the Dion era. So,
what
I mean, I
else?
don't,
What a better way to start for Nebraska, to kind of get everything back on track than to beat Colorado with Deion Sanders, at
yeah.
home,
Mm-hmm.
at Colorado. That'd be a great way for Matt Rule to like kind of get these guys fired back up, kind of
Yeah.
get that mental back into the swing of things, and hope
I mean,
maybe they could get rolling.
Nebraska used to be, I mean, we don't really have that knowledge, but I mean, like, Nebraska used to be a
I mean, that's
program.
what the guys at the local shop tell us. The local corner store, Nebraska back in
Yeah.
the days. I mean, I'd love to see that again, but I mean, maybe Matt Rule can change it. Maybe something can happen with Colorado. Not down in Colorado again, Deion Sanders. Not doubting you. I believe. Just believe this year might not be the year, but I believe that they will do good this year.
I think if they if they have a winning record, that's incredible.
Yeah, I mean
Go from
that's.
one win
I mean,
to
even to get a bowl game, that's like
oh yeah,
and let alone win that bowl game, that would be like insane to go
yeah.
from 1-9, I think it was, to who's to say
It's
eight
like
and 9-4.
1-11, right?
9-4 would be absurd, especially in the Pac-12.
Yeah, they look. I mean, the Pac-12 probably looks as good as they've looked ever. Maybe. But I mean, they look
Well, the
again
Pac-12
week
looks
one.
as good as they will ever be because the conference is gone. But
The Pac-2,
yeah,
the two-pack.
facts. But I mean, yeah, I mean, it's to move into the Big 12 next year for Colorado. It's gonna be some awesome games there, obviously, and
Mm-hmm.
they're probably gonna be seeing TCU a lot. So
That's true. I didn't think about that.
yeah, I mean, going down some more. You got Clemson's finally gonna get that big opener game against Charleston Southern. Hopefully get back on track. Kentucky,
I
I
thought
think
they
they looked.
should a confidence booster.
Yeah. Kentucky looked pretty good last week. I mean, like you were saying with Devin Leary, and I think that transfer running back, can't remember his name. Was it Ray Davis? That's who it was. He like is coming off back to back 1,000 yard seasons with
Jeez, where'd he
two different
transfer from?
schools.
Oh, jeez.
Where did he come from? Oh, he was at Temple and Vanderbilt.
Mm.
So I think he had 1,000 yard seasons at both of those
Vandy.
schools. So I mean he's familiar to the SEC. Excuse me, SEC. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean that should be a good game. Kentucky. I know we got to go down there, sometime in a few weeks. So it's gonna be. I'm sure it's gonna be a big game for them. And the last thing you want to do is be away on an SEC schedule like SEC road. I mean, thankfully
Yeah.
we get our revenge back next this year. Tennessee and LSU at home, but we do have to go to A&M. So it's the one I'm probably most nervous about, if I'm being honest. Because last time we went to A&M, it was not pretty.
We play. Yeah, we have A&M at home this year. Week maybe 5 or 6, and I mean they have the most talented like roster on paper as far as recruits.
Yeah, I mean, they
I
have
mean,
the highest ranked recruiting class ever signed like 2 years ago.
hmm
So, I
hmm
mean, they're
but
young.
I mean, if you, I mean, I guess, I mean, if you can't coach the recruits that you have, I mean, like if you can't unlock their potential, then what's it worth? But I mean, I think I don't know. I mean, it's got to come together at some point, right? Maybe
Yeah,
not
I
with the
mean,
quarterback, but I mean, I don't know.
I don't think Wigman is a bad quarterback. I don't think he's the greatest quarterback. Obviously, he has potential. I mean, so does everybody else. But I mean, I think they're due for a really good season. Ceiling 10-2 in my opinion, but I think they could go 8-4. I mean, it's just 8-4 A&M. It's kind of the motto.
Texas 8-4,
Yep, Texas 8-4. I mean, not to hit, and even then, I mean, they have a really big game this week against Miami. Mario Cristobal,
2 programs that want to be back
yeah,
so bad.
Tyler Van Dyke. He's back for another year. I'm assuming he's gonna leave at the end of this year. I mean, it's gonna be a good year. Miami has a lot of transfer players as well. I know they've took a couple Bama or a Bama guy, so I know that for sure. Another one is Ole Miss Tulane. I think Tulane is this is their hardest game of the year as far as like strength of schedule. After this, they go into conference play,
Yeah,
and
I
I,
think this is good. Sorry.
no, you're good. I was just saying, if they were to beat Ole Miss, I mean, and run the table, it's someone was talking about who's to say Tulane doesn't deserve a spot. After last year over USC, and if they beat Ole Miss and run the rest of their table, they'll be undefeated with a really big win over Ole Miss.
Yeah. I think the Ole Miss Tulane game is, or I'm sorry, and the Texas Alabama game. Those are the only two true ranked teams. Where both teams are ranked this week.
Oh, like ranked v ranked
Um,
match.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I, I mean, this is why they need to switch to the 12 year with 12 man or 12 team roster like they're gonna do next year. It's because I mean, if Tulane was to beat Ole Miss and go undefeated, I mean, worst case scenario for them is Alabama and Georgia both go undefeated. Alabama and Tennessee or LSU lost obviously. A&M and Tennessee or Georgia go undefeated, and they both meet at the SEC championship. Like those two teams are pretty much locked into the playoff. And obviously, you got a Big Ten team and probably a Pac-12 team in there, in my
yeah.
opinion. So I mean, it just
I
kind of
think. I
screws
mean,
Tulane.
yeah. It is unfair, but I mean, it's just how it is.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
I mean,
like you said, I mean, if Alabama loses a game, Tennessee drops a game. I mean, and like, I mean, for example, Tennessee is somehow undefeated up to the point where they play Georgia and they lose to Georgia, and that's their only loss. I mean, like similar situation to last year, except
I think
I'm
they
banking
honor
on.
that. Yeah, they'll honor that UGA loss. One
Yeah.
loss Tennessee team over an undefeated Tulane, and it's just, I mean, that's a sad reality. It's
hmm
so I seeing this Tulane would need to win this game, run the board, and also say a few prayers every week. But I mean, I'm not doubting them. I mean, they're going to be probably a really good team, especially if they pull this off. I mean, they're due for a really great year, and I think they're moving into the Power Five next year. So, I mean, build off of this one,
Are they?
go into next year. I'm pretty sure they're going into the Big 12 as well, or the Big 20. I think that's what it is now.
Mm,
Yeah, I think that's going to be the Big 12. I think that's what it is. I know it's not the SEC, obviously, but
I didn't know they were moving. That's awesome.
I
Good
think
for them.
Tulane, UCF is obviously in the Big 12 this year.
Where's
SMU,
Tulane?
Tulane, I think is in the American
I
probably.
mean, like
Yeah.
physically, where are they at?
Oh, Tulane. I think it's Louisiana. Yeah, it's Louisiana. So I mean, say Louisiana's getting a win with Tulane because Louisiana State can't do it.
I don't think Tulane has moved conferences yet. They're in the
I think
American right now.
I think they're due to move like next year.
Can't find it.
Well, maybe.
Maybe they should. You know, if they go undefeated this year.
I
It's
guess
in
they're
New
not
Orleans.
moving.
You're right. Tulane is.
Yeah, I don't think they are moving. But I mean, like you said, they're probably due for something. I think it was just like a rumor that I probably saw then. And you got Iowa State this week as well.
Yeah, I didn't realize they played this early. I thought
Yeah,
that was like, is that not a rivalry game?
I guess not. I would figure that would be their rivalry game, but I
Yeah,
mean, you got what's his name, the Michigan quarterback,
McNamara.
McNamara. Yeah, McNamara. They look, they scored their first opening offensive like touchdown in I don't know how
In
long.
like
I think it was like,
years since like
yeah,
the 90s, right?
opening drive touchdown, something like that. That's insane, like an insane stat right there. Like kind of doesn't even make sense. Iowa State, obviously, they're Brock Purdy, so I mean they're not a bad school. And then Mo Ibrahim, I think, pretty sure went there. I mean they're 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 a good team. Not doubting Iowa State. Should be a good matchup. Figure out what Iowa is really about with McNamara, and if Iowa State is who they say they are. You got some other teams. Obviously not writing anybody off, but kind of just figured they'd win. Got Austin P versus Tennessee. It's going to be a good matchup. Don't know
Yeah,
who's going to pull that one
hopefully,
off.
hopefully, Tennessee. I mean, I hope they run it up, but I hope they run it up to the Nico Iamaleava play a little bit. He got a couple snaps last week against Virginia, and I mean, he only had like 2 or 3 attempts, or he was 2 or 3 with his 3 attempts. But I mean, just use what he's given. So I mean, he looked pretty good. He made a couple like decisions to you know leave the pocket and rush. Got a first down, I think, when he left the pocket. But
Yeah,
yeah, hoping to see him a little bit this week. Play Austin P in the home opener. Also, you were talking about injuries earlier at Alabama. Uh, Tennessee's like their linebacker, Keenan Peely. He was a transfer from BYU, I think, and he played last week. And they were like really banking on him to like be a fixture of like the linebackers. But he's supposed to be out a couple of weeks, is what Heupel was saying today. And an upper body injury of some kind,
probably like
saying
a
he's
peck
out
or
for
something.
yeah, saying he's out for a couple of weeks. So heard rumblings that they're going to start true freshman Arion Carter. So we'll see if he gets any playing time this week or how they handle the linebacker situation this week.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I'm sure. I mean, this is what Tennessee needed. I mean, they've got two really good confidence builder games. Virginia, obviously, Austin P,
mm-hmm.
and then going into the swamp next week. I mean, they kind of need all the confidence they can get. I'm not a
Yeah,
Tennessee hater. I'm not a Joe Milton fan. I'll say that. I'm a Hendon Hooker fan. But I mean, I'm rooting for Tennessee. I mean, my goal is what I would love to is to have Tennessee and Alabama undefeated and running it back in Tuscaloosa. That's kind of my goal, my dream. Hopefully that's the case. So at the moment, I'm a Tennessee fan. But yeah, I mean, Nico kind of what was that 7-on-7 Nico? Just never really saw any
Yeah,
tape of that guy.
pajama pants Nico.
So I mean, yeah, I'd love to see some Nico, like you said, Nico playing time and kind of see what he's really about. Another game I want to talk about is this Appalachian State North Carolina game. That
Yeah,
looking at that one, I mean, just North Carolina, Drake May, Bama decommit, Bryce Young comes in, obviously Heisman number 1 pick overall. Drake May, I mean, potential to be the number 1 pick. Not sold on
yeah,
Drake. Caleb is my number 1, in my opinion. But
I agree.
Drake's a great quarterback. Appalachian State, I'm pretty sure they have Chase Brown still. I don't know if he ended up leaving or not.
Is it Chase Bryce?
Or
Or
Chase Bryce. Oh, wow, they don't
yeah,
have Chase Bryce.
he was like a 6 year last year, I think.
Yeah, he's been there forever. Apparently, it's
Mm.
looks like it's Joey Aguilar is who took the majority of the
He
plays
was a backup.
last week at least,
He
not
came off
last
the
year.
bench. I don't even know who the starter is for them then.
Yeah. I know. Looks like Caden Robinson had a big game, and
Yeah,
the thing about Appalachian State is you never really know, what they're gonna do. I mean, they have the potential to be a really good team. Last year started off real hot. Obviously beat A&M. Shocked the world
mm,
again. I'd love to see them shock NC State or North Carolina this week. That'd be great. Kind of
that
humble
would be
that
cool.
North
Especially
Carolina
since
hype.
they I mean they played last year as well in Boone, and that game was that
Oh yeah,
it was like every time each team
it's
had the
like
ball, they
70,
scored
70, 70 or something like that. I know
something
North Carolina
insane.
ended
Yeah,
up winning, but yeah, that game was awesome. So
yeah,
I'd love to see that again. Obviously, no
that was a
defense.
game that App State. Well, that's another thing. I mean, based off of just last week, you could say, I mean, South Carolina's line was their offensive line was abysmal, but I mean, is Carolina's defense really improved that much? I mean, because they didn't have anything last year. But I mean, if their defense is decent, I mean, I don't know why they couldn't make a run at like at least playing for the ACC championship. I mean, I don't. Right now, it's obviously Florida State's conference to lose. It seems, but I mean, yeah. I mean, if North Carolina has any semblance of defense, I think they could be a real contender for the ACC. What's crazy is seeing North Carolina and Duke ranked in football. That's
Is
wild.
it March?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I'm
yeah, but App
excited about
State,
that
that's
game.
like you said. I mean, that's another one where you can't really.
I mean, been lower,
They're
we've been in the mountains, so we kind of, hear the
making shock.
noise. So I would love to hear the Boone Mountains kind of, you know, celebrate
They can do
another
it. I
one.
mean, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, SMU Oklahoma, that's another big one right here. I mean, Oklahoma looked explosive on offense last week with Dylan Gabriel. SMU, I mean, don't count them out.
That's like it's like another similar situation, like North Carolina, Oklahoma, or North
Yeah.
Carolina, App State, SMU, Oklahoma. I mean,
I thought Chandler Morris was
I
on this team, but obviously he's on TCU. I guess Chandler left again. I'm pretty sure he was on a quarterback for Ole Miss or SMU at one point.
um
But yeah, I mean, just
yeah,
kind of like you were saying, just don't sleep on SMU. I mean, that's the last thing you want to do. And Lafayette, Duke. I mean,
I
Duke
mean,
due for another big game if they can keep it rolling. Just going down.
yeah, I don't think they're riding off that momentum of the Clemson win. I don't think they're gonna have a problem against Lafayette.
Yeah, I
So
mean, you kind of take out one of the big dogs in your conference. Just I mean, you're gonna be confident. I'm sure that
they're
they're
riding
gonna
that high.
cross paths with, FSU potentially. Another team in there. Maybe NC State can get ranked at some point. You know, don't sleep on the ACC, but not hating Duke. That's a big game for
They
them.
just got a
Proud of them. They're gonna
they
get
got a tough
fined.
schedule coming up.
They're gonna
They
get
got Notre
fined,
Dame.
obviously. Yeah, yeah, Notre
They got
Dame.
Notre Dame at home. They got to go to Florida State, and they have to go to North Carolina.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean,
it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a tough
it's
year.
tough.
I mean,
Yeah,
who's to say that Duke doesn't go 8-4? I mean, or 10-2. You never know. But I mean, I
eight and
think
four is
eight
so
and four
crazy
for
good
Duke.
for
Yeah,
them.
8-4 for
Yeah,
Duke is, in my opinion, a win, like a really good
huge
season.
success. Yeah,
And just going further down the list, obviously Texas Alabama. Don't have to
hmm
say much about that game. Going to be insane the amount of people that are going to be there. College Game Day, Pat McAfee, 24/7 Sports, Late Kick. I think On Three is there as well. Barstool is going to be there. It's game of the week, game of the year potentially. Just I hope it's a good game. That's all I really want. Just so much hype. I would love to see a blowout in Alabama's favor, but you know, if it's not a blowout, I'd love to see a close game with us winning it or losing it. I mean, whoever loses this game, if it's close, they're still in that driver's seat to make that playoff. Obviously it's going to be a little tougher because margin for error is a lot smaller. But I could see both of these teams being in the playoff with one loss. You know, either either one of those.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
Um,
go ahead.
I completely lost my train of thought. My fault.
You're good.
Oh, this. Do you have anything else to say about the Texas Alabama game?
I mean, I'm just hoping it's a good, friendly matchup. No, I'm kidding. You know me. But we're just riding it. Like I said, I'm excited. This is what Alabama wanted. This is what they needed. Take this game, build off of it. I mean, it's Jalen hopefully builds some more confidence. The defense plays to its potential, which that ruthless murder or merciless, joyless murder ball. That's what Dallas Turner would like to say. I mean, I'd love to see a
Surrender ball.
Dallas Turner Quinn Ewers sack again, kind of like last year. I'm not praying anybody, or, I'm not hoping anybody gets hurt. But Quinn didn't look too strong with Rice last week, but first game jitters, figure it out. But yeah, I mean, overall, I'm just excited. I'm ready. I'm hyped. I
Texas fans are gonna
want to buy.
claim that they're back if you
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
win.
mean, the Texas hype is going to get crazy if they win, especially at home. I mean, we have the longest unbeaten streak at home at the moment.
Yeah,
I hate when
21 games.
I hate whenever people announce stuff like that. It's like, oh, this team hasn't lost, you know, when
They
these
won't
conditions
lose.
are possible. It's kind of like the big one that was being said all weekend was no team that has lost their first week one of college, the season has ever made the playoff. Like when they
Yeah,
say that, it happens. Who lost week one? Clemson,
LSU and
LSU.
Clemson.
Yeah, I mean you know it can happen. It's college football. That's the beauty of it. Like I said, I mean I'm excited. I'm happy. I'm gonna have a roller coaster of emotions once that game is over. Hopefully, it's just a lot of good ones. If we do lose, I mean it's just margin of error is really small. But the last thing I want to do is, if I was an SEC team, is to face off a one loss, pissed off Alabama, with a goal to make it to the SEC championship. That's the goal every year, obviously, but going 1-0 is the weak mentality. Um, yeah, I mean, it's too explosive, or an explosive offense because our offense isn't explosive, according to some people. But in my opinion, two explosive offenses, two explosive defenses. You don't really know what you're going to get. Um, in my mind, I haven't been saying this much. I kind of have that LSU Texas in my mindset with this one. I'm not saying Jalen Milroe is Joe Burrow, but just the kind of mental state when Joe Burrow beat Texas week 2 or 3 of that season that he went on the Heisman run and they won the Natty. I mean, it just going into that game, you really didn't know who was going to win. And, after LSU won that game, it's just they were kind of in that driver's seat the rest of the way. They had a close game with us, but I just feel like whoever can build off of this game and win this game is potentially going to be a national championship favorite. Whoever wins this game, in my opinion, Sounds like a dumb theory, but it feels like that LSU Texas game a few years back, and I'm just excited. Just hyped. Jalen Milroe, put him to sleep, silence these haters. But if we lose, I mean, just get back to 1-0, learn from it, get better. That's just the mentality. I mean, but like I said, I'm not gonna keep talking about it. It's just gonna be a good game. I'm excited. At the end of the day, I'd love to be happy at the end of the game, but I'll be happy if we lose. You got to find something out of it. So, but like I said, I'll stop talking about it. We'll get through the rest of these games and then potentially talk about some quick NFL things. Kind of week one as well. But going down the list, I mean, LSU's got a game against Grambling at home. I'm sure this is going to be a bounce back. Oh, Wisconsin, Washington State. I'm hearing some Washington State quarterback is kind of a really good quarterback. So don't sleep on Washington State, Wisconsin. Obviously, or what's his name, Luke Fickle, I think it is, the
Yeah, yeah.
old Cincinnati coach. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they're poised for a big year as well, but don't sleep on
I didn't realize they were
Washington
ranked
State.
that high.
Yeah, I mean that 19th rank, that's kind of crazy. Florida looks like they'll have a bounce back game. Hopefully
Oh
fix
yeah.
some stuff. Mississippi State going off a 1-0, potentially moving to 2-0. Arizona's not a bad school, but it's just one of those things where based off their recent you know non-success, Mississippi State should win this, and I'm pretty sure they're motivated, especially with the Mike Leach situation. Rest in peace to
Yeah.
him.
I've heard that they're underrated. What's
Yeah, they're
I
they're
haven't gotten a chance to
really
watch.
senior heavy, really senior heavy. I think like
Is Will Rogers still
20,
there?
21 out of 24 returning players. Yeah, Will Rogers is still there.
Mm.
South Carolina, hopefully getting a bounce back. Spencer Rattler, I'm a fan. I was rooting for them against UNC, but I like USC. I think USC's in the South, but that's another day for another conversation, or another conversation for another day. UCLA, San Diego State should be a good matchup. Dante Moore hopefully gets into that game. You got TCU with a bounce back, hopefully against Nichols. Who else is on here? Florida State, Southern Miss, just kind of keep flexing that dominance, that number 4 next to Florida State. Haven't seen that in a while. You know,
That's a old site.
yeah. I mean, that's kind of when I was, you know, coming up into high school and stuff like that. Middle school. That's what we like to see.
Famous James.
Yeah. I mean, it's college football is good when more teams are good. So I'm excited. Like I said, it's going to be a crazy year. Oregon State, flex DJ some more. USC Stanford. I think that's a rivalry game right there. Not saying anything against Stanford, but I mean,
No.
hopefully, hopefully it's a game. But yeah, I mean, just going down
Yeah.
that list, just it's gonna be a good week 2. Week 3, I'm sure, is just set up just as much. We won't go too deep into that, obviously, but for next week. But yeah, I mean, we'll
You gonna
talk
talk about
some.
some NFL?
Yeah, we'll talk about some NFL, and then we'll move into kind of just capping off the episode and hopefully the introduction to this future setting. You know, just the goal of this. So obviously Thursday night kickoff. It's going to be Kansas City, Detroit. Um,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm excited for Detroit. I'm a you know Detroit fan.
Yeah, unless you're like a fan of like an NFC North team, I don't know how you could like root against like Dan Campbell's Lions.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean,
I think this is like a true. Obviously, this is like with the biggest test you can have against. I mean, Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, but I mean, with Kelsey being out, looks like he's probably not going to play tomorrow. I've heard. I mean, what is it?
yeah, I
His
mean,
hyperextension of his knee.
I don't I've had a hyperextension. I mean, it's not the greatest thing in the world, especially waking up the next day. Um, if he does play, expect him to be off some of that good stuff, some of that
I
numbness.
just I don't think it's. I don't think they take the chance of him like hurting himself this
Nah,
early.
I mean, if they do, if they throw him out there, I think he's just going to be a decoy. Just kind of
Yeah, exactly.
hey, like this guy is out here, you have to respect that kind of thing. But I mean, Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. He's the greatest quarterback
Oh
in the
yeah,
league at the moment, potentially ever. Tom Brady obviously has a lot more Super Bowls, but I mean, the thing this guy has done, the things he's done to change the
the
game,
physical
it's
attributes and yeah, that's all Mahomes.
yeah. Oh yeah. I'm rooting for Detroit. I would love to see Detroit win this, especially earn their respect that they're due. You know,
Yeah,
used to be the
absolutely.
laughing stock of the country, or the NFL,
You think you
forever.
think Goff is that guy, man? I mean, obviously he had success in LA, but I mean, was that Sean McVay's offense or was that Goff
I
just
think I think Goff is a good quarterback. I think he has the potential to be a really good not a great quarterback, a really good quarterback. He's a manager. He does what he has to do to win the game. He doesn't turn the ball over.
yeah,
Obviously in the past, he can, but he tries to manage the game as well as he can. I'm not gonna say he's a bad player. I think he's a great player. I mean, to be in the NFL, you have to be the best of the best. But I just think Detroit is a really hot team at the moment and with a lot of potential. And I'd love to, just see them, if not, win this game, keep it close. I
is
think
Jameson
Kansas.
Williams playing?
No, he's suspended for the 6 weeks on the
Oh, 6 weeks. God, I didn't
gambling
realize it was
issue.
that many.
Yeah, Jamison Williams, a big fan. Got that jersey. So Jameer Gibbs, fantasy monster. Hopefully, got him on my team. I think both of my leagues. So I'm rooting for
Bryce
that.
Young's first start coming up
Yeah, Bryce Young. I'm going to
at
Atlanta,
Atlanta.
hot Atlanta. It's gonna be a good road test. I'm obviously a division game to open it up. That's doesn't get
Completely new
yeah
Panthers team. So
doesn't get
like,
any
who
more
knows what to
difficult than
expect?
that. Yep, exactly. I mean, just going down the slate. I mean, just Carolina, Atlanta, potentially number one and number two offensive rookie of the year, Bijan, Bryce Young. You
Yeah,
don't know what to expect with these teams. Obviously, their NFC South is probably the weakest division in the NFL.
yeah, I
Going
agree.
AFC and
Yeah,
NFC.
yeah.
But I, I'm ready to see what both of these teams can do. Obviously, I'm rooting
Oh,
for the Panthers. I'm a Bryce Young fan, so I hope everything
uh,
works out, and that he does at the end of the day just gets better.
I think Joe Burrow is he's going to be healthy for this game against Cleveland. So I think Cincinnati takes care of business in Cleveland. But I mean, can Deshaun Watson like return to form? You think? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, Deshaun Watson's got Amari. I know you know about Amari, obviously, but even then, Elijah Moore. I think they have another wide receiver. Um,
I know Cedric Tillman went there. He was
yeah,
drafted.
Cedric Tillman. Yeah, Tennessee guy. He was had a really good preseason, so I'm sure he's in there working with the ones probably already. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to Cleveland, I mean, even Nick Chubb, you know,
Yeah,
he's quietly
he
one of
stay
the
healthy. Yeah,
best backs in the in the NFL. I keep saying country,
yeah,
like we're still in college, but I mean, it is a country. I mean, he's the best back, one of the best backs in the NFL at the moment. So, I mean, it's going to be a really good game. Again, another division game. It doesn't get better than that. Cincinnati, I know Joe Burrow's coming off that calf injury. I mean, who's to say he's still not hurt? I mean, I think if, you're if you're Cincinnati, you kind of maybe let it cool off. I mean, this is going to be your franchise quarterback. Make sure he's good to go. I mean, I know he's going to be a competitor, but you don't want to rush him into these things. But I'm not the head coach, obviously, but I'm also not the smartest reporter or anything. Just an average guy. But I mean, that's just my opinion. If you're gonna keep your guy healthy, make sure he's good. If he says he's good, I mean, obviously you can't say anything, but it's gonna be a good game regardless. Um, then going down, I mean, Jacksonville, Indianapolis, Trevor Lawrence, Calvin Ridley, you know, guys with a
it's
lot to prove
exciting
still.
to see that connection. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, again, Calvin Ridley, big fan. Trevor Lawrence, bad memories, but a big fan. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure Jacksonville's
Anthony
due for a
Richardson.
really good season. Anthony Richardson, the rookie, you know. I think
Start
it
start.
was
I've heard like crazy good things from him, like just how mature he's been, like in camp,
I
and
think
they've already made him captain.
Doug came out and was like comparing him to Cam Newton. I think it was like MVP Cam Newton, and I was just like, that's
Jeez,
a bold take. Not saying anything, but
that's wild. I
that's
mean,
that's a lot.
as a it's a good comparison if you're Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, I mean he's an athlete. He's gonna try to win games. He's gonna go out there. He's gonna give it his all. And I mean Florida was not the greatest situation, but I mean he was a great athlete. I'm sure he's gonna translate, great to the league and you know just kind of dominate that. Just going down the board, Tampa Bay, Minnesota, Justin Jefferson, probably offensive player of the year campaign, maybe even MVP. Tampa Bay, Baker, just hope he does good, man. The NFL is good when Baker's good, in my opinion. I don't hate the guy. I don't have any bad thing to say about Baker. I know a lot of people hate him, but yeah. Anything you want to say about that game?
And now, other than like, I don't know, watching the quarterback thing on Netflix just made me like Kirk Cousins more. Uh, he seems like a good dude.
Yeah. I
It's
think QB quarterback that Netflix thing. I mean, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
Kirk's a good guy, man. He has good intentions for the team. He's a good leader. I mean,
yeah.
he
And then
gets hated
also
on for
it's
no
really
reason.
it makes you wonder like but like watching that quarterback thing like just versus like the I don't know like killer instinct that like Patrick Mahomes has, compared to like Kirk Cousins.
One other
I
thing
just
is
feel
like,
like they're not cut from the same cloth.
yeah, another thing is I think Josh Allen and Kirk Cousins, when compared, like one's obviously MVP candidate, Josh Allen. The other one, Kirk Cousins. I mean, he's putting up better stats than Josh Allen, and I think they have the same amount of playoff wins. In since
Yeah,
Josh
yeah.
Allen's been in the league, and
Hmm.
I mean, one's getting MVP praises, the other one's getting ridiculed. You know, oh, he's getting saved by Justin Jefferson. Like, what about Diggs? You know, it's just I don't know. I'm not a hater.
Uh,
I'm a Dolphins fan, but I respect the
Tennessee
Bills.
at uh, Tennessee at New Orleans. Is that Derek Carr starting in New Orleans?
Yeah, that is Derek Carr. I would be excited to see Will Levis. I wonder if
Is he
they'll.
starting?
I don't think that he's starting, but I would love to see if there is some you know how would I say this,
Yeah.
some lackluster of the offense. If the run game can't get started with Derrick Henry and Tannehill's not performing well, I mean, who's to say to not give the rookie a shot? You know
Hopkins is in Tennessee, right?
who?
Didn't he land it? DeAndre Hopkins landed in Tennessee.
Yeah. Hopkins is there. Another thing is, I mean, who's the head coach of Tennessee? What's his name again? I forget his
Mike
name.
Vrabel.
Yeah, Mike Vrabel. I mean, he's always has a good defense. I know
Yeah.
the Saints are picked to win the South. By a lot of the guys. A lot of the major guys that do this. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see that. Because the Saints, obviously, yeah, I'm not a huge fan, but when it comes to division rival for Bryce, I'm gonna keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on that South Division. But I mean, I'm sure it's gonna be a good game. I think both of the teams have really good defenses. I think they both have defensive head coaches. I mean, it should be a really good heavyweight brawl is what I'm trying to say. Derek Carr, obviously, new team, see what he's about, like the story. Would love to see him bounce back, but maybe not with the Saints, if I'm being honest. Oh, big one right here, San Francisco, Pittsburgh. Nick Bosa just became
Yeah.
the highest
Highest paid
paid,
defensive player.
107 million, 170 million, 5 years. That's
70.
generational wealth right there. I'm assuming he
Makes
already
me
has
wonder.
brand deals.
Makes you wonder what they're gonna pay like Micah.
Brian Burns.
Sure.
Both got drafted in the same year too. So yeah, I mean Micah's gonna be getting a bag as well. Dallas is going to be in some shit for a while with that one, but Micah deserves it. You know, he's a dog.
Uh,
He's generational talent as well.
Arizona and Washington.
Yeah,
Arizona.
I keep getting ads for that one, and I'm not hating. I know it, but one of
I
the
mean, it's a
weaker games of the
good.
weekend.
Oh yeah, that's I mean, first year head coach, but I mean, if you've seen anything of him, like
Yeah,
trying to motivate,
the hype up. Yeah, I mean, I don't think he
I mean,
hyped me up
that's
to make a sandwich, if I'm being honest. So
yeah. I think yeah. I don't know how long his tenure is going to be in Arizona, but I don't foresee it being that long.
I
Speaking
think.
of tenure,
Mhm.
Ron Rivera, I feel like this is probably his last year to do anything in Washington. I mean, this is definitely prove a year for Washington. Sam Howell, which Washington's defense, I mean, on paper, I mean, their line probably is one of the best in the league, probably top five.
Mhm.
Um, but Sam Howell getting the starter quarterback, you know, Terry McLaurin, who's a weapon. Who's the other one? He went to De'Ami Brown.
Yeah, I mean, did you say
Uh,
Dotson too?
oh yeah, I forgot about him too. But I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean,
they're all
yeah,
weapons. Sam Howell's
y-
disposable.
yeah. I mean,
I mean,
I know.
I
I
think
think Terry might be out. I think he's still questionable at the moment. Um,
oh,
but I mean, just kind of get those rooks out there, the young guys, teach them the ropes, and maybe see what this offense is about. I mean, I think Arizona is going to be better when Kyler's back. Obviously, I think Josh Dobbs is starting at the moment, but I mean, they that
VFL.
yeah, that I think they're going to need Kyler back as soon as possible, especially if they want to, compete in this league. Kyler,
I
it's
think
one of the highest paid quarterbacks for a reason. Regardless of his stature, he's a dog. In my opinion.
yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, people for whatever reason like to hate on Kyler, but I mean, I completely agree. When he's on, he's on. I mean, like you said, regardless of stature. I mean, I think that's one of the things with Bryce Young, people talking about his stature, but I mean, he's been able to prove that at the highest level of college football. I don't think he's going to have a problem proving it at the highest level of football, period. So
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
just one man's opinion,
Yeah, I
but
mean, I'm excited to watch that game, but like, I don't really, I'm not like gonna like go crazy over it. But I mean, I'm a red zone guy if I'm being honest. So I'm a red zone on all day. Kind of catch the biggest plays and then check at the box scores after the games. And go back and watch the highlights for the full games. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see what Washington can do. Arizona, I kind of feel bad for a lot of those guys because like you said, that I'm not digging it. I'm not into the buying into the program at the moment. It's just kind of lackluster. I mean, until Kyler comes
yeah,
back, and just to keep rolling. Houston, Baltimore should be a good game. I mean, LJ's back. One of the highest paid quarterbacks at the moment in the
DK
league.
Falcons hopefully stay
Yeah,
healthy too.
yeah. I mean, OBJ the return. So and then what's his name? Zay
Stroud
Flowers.
getting his first start on
Yeah,
Houston's. Oh, Zay Flowers, he looks like a dog too.
yeah. Stroud. I mean, the Rook. Texans are young. Defense is stout. Obviously, you got D'Amico at head coach. I'm sure they're gonna be really good. They got that Jalen Petrie, I think is his name. That safety is a dog. Just last year hitting people left and right. Stingley bounce back. Um, Chris Harris, linebacker. You know, out to prove stuff. This team has just been disrespected for years ever since the Deshaun Watson thing. So I'm sure they're kind of hungry for something. And I mean,
Hmm.
D'Amico having one of the best defenses over the past couple years, I'm sure he's going to translate it to Houston, kind of show what Texans football is about. But yeah, I mean, Baltimore, I'm excited to see the offense. I'm excited to see Houston's defense. Like you said, Stroud, you know, big day for him. Tough defense. Baltimore always has a pretty good defense. So be nice to test the rook, kind of figure out he's really about.
Hmm. In next game here, what's Green Bay and Chicago? Is that Jordan Love? Jordan Love season
Yeah,
is in Green Bay now.
love season, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love season,
Uh,
field season. So, I mean,
I have no clue what to expect out of Green Bay, as for most people. But, however, Chicago, I I have nothing against Justin Fields. People hate on him, but I think he's a good quarterback. I think he can be good once he gets protection. He's not running for his life, and I think they made strides to get him protection with the addition of Darnell Wright in the
yeah,
draft. But and they've got DJ Moore now too, who's been a weapon in Carolina for years. Hopefully he can help out Fields. So I don't
yeah.
know who's the running back in Chicago. Is it still Montgomery or he?
I think Montgomery's with the Lions. I can't recall exactly, but I'm pretty sure they got rid of Montgomery. I know Cohen's not there anymore, but I mean, I could be wrong with Chicago.
Khalil Herbert.
Oh yeah, Herbert. Yeah, he was there last year. I think he was Montgomery's backup, but obviously injuries with Montgomery made them move past him.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, should be a good game. I mean, you kind of have that NFC North matchup. You don't really know what to expect out of that division. Obviously, the
Hmm.
Vikings have the best wide receiver in the league. The Lions have the best upside in the league, in my opinion. And Green Bay starting over, and Fields, kind of on a mission to prove himself. So it's gonna be a really good year for the North, for the South, in my opinion. Lots to prove there. But yeah, I mean that's gonna be an exciting game. 4:20, 4:25 kickoff. Yeah, if you're on the East Coast like us, but yeah, I mean it's Green Bay Packer football. Chicago Bear football. It's just always been that rivalry. They hate each other, so I'm sure it's gonna be a good game, especially at
Yeah,
Soldier Field.
Chicago's looking to get some wins back in their favor.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
the
Who
record.
knows? Maybe they can even the score now that he's gone.
Yeah,
I think they're down like 16 or something like that. So I mean, they kind
that
of got to
makes
go
sense.
crazy.
Vegas and Denver.
Hmm.
Man, I don't know. I still people
You're not letting them
Russell
cook.
Wilson, man. I still would say let him cook, but I don't know. Sean Payton, I don't know.
I think they probably
I
brought
mean,
Sean Payton in for another
for that reason.
quarterback. I'm not saying Russell Wilson is the future. I mean, I like Russ. He's been doubted all his career. As far as MVP candidate wise. I mean, but he'll show up, he'll do really good, and then just kind of drop off a cliff. You
First
know,
half of the season, yeah.
yeah. And I mean, Legion of Boom. Not saying that they saved him, but definitely helped him a lot when it was in the Seahawks days. But I mean, yeah, it's gonna be good. And then Playboy Jimmy, with the Raiders. So Devonte Adams hopefully gets a good connection. Got him in one of my
Yeah,
fantasy leagues, so I really need that chemistry to build real good. But I've also been hearing, that Devonte Adams could be traded. He's just not happy there. It's he obviously went there with Carr. They were teammates back in the day, and wasn't happy with that situation. So don't be surprised, if Devonte Adams has a slow start. I really hope he doesn't. But I mean, he's kind of just a mismatch with anybody. So I
for
mean, when
sure.
in doubt, throw it up to him. I'm sure he's gonna catch a touchdown, get you back in scoring range, or do whatever he can do. I mean, he's a leader, so it's gonna be a good game. Also a division game, so I'm liking the division matchups for week one. Just kind of set the tone and really establish your dominance in your division. But yeah,
Philly and New England.
I'll let you speak about
I
Philly.
I have. I was gonna talk about New England first. I hate like other than Mac Jones, man. I can't really name like how many like what weapons do they have in New England now?
I think they still have Hunter Henry. I know they have Gasecki. In Njoku, I think is there as well. I think they're like real tight end heavy. Devontae Parker, obviously there. I think Taekwon,
Juju was there.
yeah, Juju, Taekwon Thornton, I think is there as well. Um,
Yeah, he's on IR.
I mean, obviously Zeke, Ramondre.
Yeah,
So
I
I
forgot
mean,
about Zeke.
yeah, I mean Zeke's familiar with Philly. Who knows? Maybe he'll get a
Matt
couple
Corral
tuds. Yeah, yeah. Matt Corral was signed
second.
to the. I think he was on the practice squad. I don't know. He might be on the team.
They've got him as
QB2.
second string on the depth chart. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean Corral, in my opinion, is one of the most disrespected quarterbacks. I love Bryce, but I think he deserved a chance, and I would have really loved to have Corral and Young in the same quarterback room, but obviously things happen. Let me see if I can. If you want to keep talking about Philly, I'm gonna look for something real quick so I can flash it.
yeah. Um, you know, Super Bowl runner-ups. Um, I mean, people have them favorited to a lot of people have them favorited to win uh their division, the East this year again. Got a lot of like returning production on offense. I mean, we've got arguably two of the best, two of like top 15 receivers in Devontae Smith, Slim Reaper, um, and AJ Brown. Uh, got Hurts as well. Hurts, you know, had a major payday for himself this offseason. And they're gonna be looking to repeat their success. They're trying to get back to the Super Bowl. Um, yeah, I mean on defense too. I mean defense. How in the world did Jalen Carter fall to Philadelphia and
Philadelphia Bulldogs.
Nolan Smith gonna be playing this year as well? And who was the other one that they drafted? They had an insane draft.
They also have Elias Ricks, from Alabama, the corner. He was actually undrafted, but I think they also have Kelly Ringo. Yeah, they're kind of loaded when it comes to that defense position. Um,
Yeah, they traded up to get Jalen Carter. They took Nolan Smith, and then is this an older article? No.
I mean, yeah, DeAndre
Yeah,
Swift, like you said, Carter. I mean, they're kind of just loaded when it comes to that. I wanted to show something off real quick. My buddies gave me a bunch of Matt Corral cards because he knew I was a big fan. And I thought he gave me a auto signature. It's probably not gonna fix in there. Yeah, I got a bunch of Matt Corral cards. Little card collector. Some rated rookie stuff. Also gave me this insane Tua Tagovailoa hard shell case. Hollow. So shout out to that boy
that's pretty good.
Yazi.
Is that
Exactly.
that
I knew the
leads
next
to
game.
the
Yeah, Miami
Miami?
Chargers. Um, just kind of excited. Excited to kind of see what Tua built over the off season. Gain some weight. Obviously, too many chicken wings, I guess, is what they're saying. But no, I mean, just kind of took care of himself. He needed to gain that weight. He was a little slimmer back in the day, and maybe this will help him protect himself. Took that taijutsu or jiu-jitsu, whatever it was, where he learned how to fall and kind of protect himself. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited. This is the battle of pick number 5 and 6 or 4 and 5, something like that. Back in 2020, which quarterback goes to Miami, which quarterback goes to the Los Angeles. This is Herbert versus Tua. You know, Obviously they don't play on the opposite sides, but just kind of see what both of these guys are at. I mean, I would have loved to have had Jalen Ramsey healthy for Miami fan. But I think our defensive, line, our front seven is kind of stout. Kind of see what they can do against that Los Angeles Chargers front. Eckler, he's a touchdown monster. Obviously, not a fan of Eckler, but respect to him. Big
Yeah,
body wide receivers for Los Angeles. They're gonna throw it up.
Allen,
They're gonna catch it over you.
Keenan Allen.
Yeah. Even Quentin Johnson, that rookie they drafted, massive.
ECU.
I
Yeah.
think it's not Joshua Palmer. He's there.
Josh Palmer.
Yeah. I mean,
EFL.
yeah. I mean, it's gonna be a good game. I'm excited. It's gonna be probably the biggest game for me, other than the Panthers game, in my opinion. Like personally, because I'm gonna be keeping an eye out on this, and just kind of see what Tua's at. Where he's at. I'm a fan. I, you know, number one for life. Number 13. I'm just excited to get this season rolling, and playoff sleeper for me. So nothing much else to say. It's gonna be a good match. Just hope to learn a lot from this, especially see what we learned over the off season and just let it rip. You know, but going on to the next one. I mean, we got Los Angeles, Seattle. Cooper Cup's out. I'm sad. My first overall pick my first overall pick in the draft. I wasn't number one. I would have had Justin Jefferson, obviously, but my number one pick in my first round of my draft, uh, Cooper Cup going out really hurt me. So kind of sad about that one. But just kind of to see what Stafford's back to. He said he's been feeling the healthiest he's ever been in a while. And I mean, Seattle just building off last year, you know, real young
Geno
defense.
Smith.
Geno
I
Smith.
mean, do you expect like a regression from them, or
I think they're probably going to be a mid-tier team with potential every year from now on. I mean, even I don't think Geno's going to be there too much longer. I'm
yeah?
not gonna. I don't think Drew's going to be there much either. But they're kind of just building something. I think Pete Carroll's always going to be in that race. He's always there. He's a really good really good coach. Obviously from college as well. He's one of the few that transitioned very well. Uh, I will say I was excited to see Smith and Jigba, but
Hmm.
got that wrist or thumb or something. So he's out for I think a week or two. But overall, I mean, Seattle's not a bad team. Neither is Los Angeles. I mean, better when they have Cup, obviously. But it's gonna be a good game. Don't sleep on it. But I'll let you get into the last Sunday night slate. Obviously,
Fun fact: Dallas has not won a Week One game that has not been against the Giants since like 1994. So
wait,
any other opponent that they've played since 1994 in Week One that wasn't the Giants, they've
they've
lost.
lost.
Yeah. So do with that as you will.
Okay,
But
so they're starting
but
off 0-1.
I think
You just
uh
cursed them.
pretty much. But no, I mean they go to New York. Glad they're going to New York this early, so I don't have to go out there when it's like frigid. Uh, but I mean I don't know. Let's talk about New York first, and then you get Daniel Jones, who I refuse to believe that he's the guy in New York.
Yeah, I'm not a
Uh,
Danny Dimes guy.
but he's fast though. Like I can't imagine
I
being this
mean,
fast.
I'll say this:
You know?
what they paid Danny Dimes, it could have helped pay Saquon.
Oh,
Saquon
easily.
deserves to get paid.
Yeah,
I know he
absolutely.
got paid, but he got a fraction of what he deserves.
Yeah.
But
The only thing I'm excited about from New York is Jalen Hyatt because I mean New York, they have what? No, I can't name a single receiver for them. Sterling Shepard, maybe. I don't even know if he's still there. Um, I don't know. Excited to see Jalen Hyatt. He had a couple of good reps against Sauce Gardner. I saw he beat Sauce Gardner a couple of times. He
mhm.
was just his throw wasn't very well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it
I
was
don't
like
know. We'll see.
Tyrod Taylor or something. So
Yeah, that's exactly
yeah,
who it was.
yeah. I mean,
Uh,
want to talk about Dallas?
and then on Dallas' side, this is the year.
Sorry.
I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Uh, I don't know. I cannot imagine like a worse season as far as like interceptions from Dak. I'm still a Dak homer. People, I mean, I know there's a million Dallas fans out there that can't stand Dak, and there's a million of them who still ride with Dak. But I mean, I don't, I don't know. Can't foresee that being a problem. It's historically never been a problem. I think it was his thumb, but there are also a lot of stupid decisions if you look back at the tape. The I don't know, but the Tony Pollard taking over RB1, I think he's gonna have a huge year. RB2, I think, is like what between like
Vaughn and Dowdle.
Rico, yeah, Rico Dowdle and Deuce Vaughn.
Hmm.
Excited to see Deuce Vaughn play too. He's like so shifty, man.
Yeah, I
In
mean,
preseason
we're
film,
shout out to the short kings.
he's so fast and just like so yeah, just elusive.
Yeah.
Uh, I think CeeDee Lamb. I think this is the year that he like goes nuts and like solidifies. Like I think he was already top 10,
Hmm.
but I think he
Like top 10 wide
solidifies.
receivers.
Like oh yeah, I think he solidifies. I think he starts inching closer towards like top like 5. Honestly, I think that big year. And then Brandon Cooks too. I think that's a huge like veteran presence for them.
I
Uh,
think I got him in
they'll
both
have
of
a
my
good center.
leagues.
I
But
know. I was looking for him, but
I think took him
this
from
is
you
a
both times, probably.
fantasy like sleeper,
Yeah.
bro. Every
Yeah.
year.
Cooks. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think he's due for a really. I mean, even Gallup. Gallup's. I think
Yeah.
I saw where Gallup said he's again feeling healthiest since he's been in a while. I think it was like two
Yeah.
years with that knee injury just aggravating
Yeah.
him. So.
I think. Well, this is like 2 years since his ACL tear
Hmm.
this season, which I've heard that like 2 years is like that's when your knee actually like is 100%
Heels.
healthy. Like it can be healthy or whatever, but I mean like I
Yeah.
don't know, like shaking off
I mean,
like the
I don't
nerves
know
around
exactly
that.
what like happens when you tear your ACL, but I've seen the scars from it before. I'm sure it takes a couple years to kind of really heal itself back. So,
Mhm.
I mean, and I couldn't imagine the mental state, that like the mentality you have to like get back on that field,
Mhm.
just to think that like, hey, what if it happened again? That would,
Yeah.
run through my mind 24/7,
Yeah.
let alone
Yeah.
if, I was getting paid for it like he
Yeah.
is. So, but yeah, I mean,
But
even if Dak doesn't perform, I will say you do have lap dance Lance. So yeah, so nah, I'm kidding.
but
I'm a Trey Lance
yeah,
hater, by the way. Nah, I'm kidding.
I don't really
Kind of.
know what the move was as far as like bringing in Lance, because like I don't know if that was just to like get on like light a fire underneath Dak, but like I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
mean,
I wouldn't be threatened by Trey Lance if I was Dak,
I
but
wouldn't be
that's just
threatened,
me.
but I'd also be aware, like, hey, like they're
Big
making
adversity
moves.
waiting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if I mess up, if I do something wrong, like they paid this guy to come here.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean I don't. Yeah, I can't imagine a scenario where they bench Dak unless it's like 4 interceptions a game for like 3 weeks
He said he
straight or
wouldn't throw
something stupid.
10 this year,
Who knows?
so I'm gonna be counting.
If he hits 10, there you go. Everybody will be.
But
Speaking really quick on like the defensive side of the ball for Dallas, I mean Micah Parsons, who
yeah,
a freak, like
oh yeah,
insane. Line him up anywhere,
I'm
man.
glad I wasn't his teammate.
Hey, I mean those are just allegations, no
Long
proof,
story.
but
We're gonna keep rolling. Nah, I'm kidding.
uh,
Micah's a dog, but all jokes aside,
but the you got Gilmore, who actually, I'm like, if you look on paper, Gilmore had just as good of a year as Diggs did last year. It's like it's crazy that like I don't know people like are saying that you fell off. I mean, they had really similar stats last year.
yeah, I mean on
Tim
paper,
Gilmore and
I mean you guys win the
Dick.
paper Super Bowl every year. The depth chart Super Bowl. It's
Yeah, we actually win the cap space Super Bowl every year. We're actually the cap space champions.
yeah, there you go. No, I mean you guys on paper are year in and year out always top dog, and I have been getting better since Mike McCarthy was there. I think what was it like 12-4 last year?
Yeah, I'm
I mean,
excited for the. I
that's
think
a
it's 12
really
and
good
4.
year if you're not Dallas. You know, obviously Dallas kind of has a lot of expectations, a lot of fans. So I kind of
Mm,
feel bad. If Miami was to go 12-4, I would probably shit a brick. If I'm being honest, because that's awesome. But I mean,
excited for the Texas Coast offense
yeah,
with Mike McCarthy
nah,
calling the plays.
it's kind of hard to please
Uh,
Texas.
yeah, I mean, we'll see. At the end of the day, like I don't know,
Yeah,
it's just hard to speak on Dallas and not be insanely biased.
yeah. No, I
That
mean,
leads us to the last game, unless you
I'm
want
not
to
a
say something else
Dallas
about Dallas.
hater, but I was rooting for Hurts to win the Super Bowl last year. So, but I mean, that was
I can tell you
also.
emphatically, I was not rooting for Hurts to win the Super Bowl last year.
I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe that's what Dallas needed. Oh well, Philly's already won it
You know, that's
a while back,
already
so
happened. Yeah,
never mind.
so
Maybe we need the Commanders to win it. To really fire them
there
up.
you go.
The Giants, the Eagles,
Yeah,
and the
every
Commanders won it
single team,
before the Cowboys.
every single team in the division has to win it
We
before
just need some
Dallas.
fire. But nah. I mean, it's like you said. I mean, on paper, they're always one of the best teams in the country, and potential is there. Just kind of have to click, click on all
Capitalize,
cylinders.
man.
Yeah, I mean, it's Philly's due for another good year, I'm sure, and they're kind of cap space demons with you as well. They're not going to be together much longer, but
Oh yeah, no, they're Super Bowl or bust this year too.
yeah,
Uh, but so last game, did have you watched any of the Hard Knocks
I've watched some of it. I watched like the first
preseason?
3 episodes, and then I've just been slacking ever since because
I
work.
was a
Well,
certified I was a certified Aaron Rodgers hater before I
until
started watching Hard
yeah,
Knocks,
yeah,
and that's just because he owned Dallas. He's owned Dallas for ever since I could remember.
I've liked Aaron Rodgers. I
But
mean,
yeah, but like, dude, watching like Hard Knocks, he seems like the coolest dude in the world,
yeah,
and like
I mean that's how the
knows
media does
everyone.
it. I mean, the media hates you.
Yeah,
They're gonna make you look like shit. And they
yeah,
made Aaron Rodgers look like shit. And they made him look like a
made him
dick.
look like a
But
bad guy. Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure he's a good
such a cool
guy.
dude.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure. What was that guy's name? Man, I shouldn't even say it. We're not gonna say it. um, but yeah, I mean, the media will make people to make them look like bad guys, and not great leaders. And I'm sure if you ask the Green Bay locker room, a lot of them have nothing but respect for Aaron Rodgers, especially for what he did to that country, that state, that city. A lot of those fans. But I'm not a I'm not an Aaron Rodgers hater. I'm not a Jets hater, but I'm a Jets hater when they play us. And
That's a divisional thing, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, this is a divisional game. Buffalo, New York. I mean, 9/11. Remember that everything. In New York or New Jersey. Sorry, because New York doesn't play in New York. They play in New Jersey.
Yeah,
But it's gonna be. I'm sure it's gonna be an awesome game. I mean, they're gonna do a memorial. They're gonna talk about that. Monday Night Football. It's gonna be an awesome
yeah.
game. Obviously, division rivals. Buffalo probably running the East for a while now, or not probably have been. New York, the potential to take over the East.
It's scary.
Obviously, I'm a Miami
It's
fan, so I'm gonna say we're in there as well. And you can't sleep on New England. I mean, they're what 7, 8-time world champs for a reason. So it's gonna be a good game. I'm excited. The best thing about it is someone has to lose. I don't care who loses, but obviously I would love to see the Bills lose because I'm not the biggest Bills fan, but I'm also not the biggest Jets fan. But I like Aaron Rodgers more than I like Josh Allen. I don't hate Josh Allen, so I mean I'm rooting for the Jets, especially after Hard Knocks. I mean it's kind of hard not to root for that team. So
Garrett Wilson's a dog.
yeah, I mean Garrett Wilson. I like Sauce. We
Sauce is a dog
we
too.
didn't throw to him in the college football playoff, but for good reasons. We won that game, thankfully, obviously. But Sauce is a dog. Garrett Wilson, Jeremiah, I forget Is it Jeremiah? Jeremiah or Jermaine Johnson. Yeah, he's a dog. Last Chance U legend. I don't know if you guys watched that, but yeah, I mean, excited for their Quentin Williams, C.J. Mosley, DJ
Mm-hmm.
Reader says they have the potential to be Legion of Boom esque. It's kind of crazy, but I mean, they're on paper they're a monster defense.
Mm-hmm.
Offense, the line I know has been struggling according to
The
Hard
line.
Knocks.
I think that's their biggest liability. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, you have Aaron Rodgers. He's the reason you're going to be in games. He's the reason you're going to win games. You know, and he can also be the reason you're going to lose games. But
Mm-hmm.
I would rather have 12, or sorry, 8 at my quarterback than a lot of the quarterbacks in the NFL at the moment. Obviously, I'm a Tua fan, so I'd rather have Tua. But I mean, I wouldn't hate to have you know Aaron Rodgers on the team. But yeah, it's just my opinion. It's gonna be a good weekend for football. Post Labor Day, week 2 of college football, week 1 of NFL. It's everything's set up for a really good weekend. Just kind of sucks that we're busy this weekend. Well, I'm busy this weekend. I think you're going to you know gonna have a nice little weekend
Possibly.
as well. So,
Yeah.
but anyways, just rounding it up. You know, thank you for watching. Um, Obviously,
Yeah,
if you have
flew
any of
along, dude.
yeah, I mean, I told you it's just kind of flowing with it. Um, so if you're seeing this, hopefully this is uploaded before Saturday's slate. If you got this far, please, kind of leave us some comments. Tell us what we can do better. You know, if you have anything you want to talk about, leave it in the comments as well. We'll kind of be reviewing it. And if you want to talk about your team, we'll voice your opinions. Talk about other subjects, other sports if you want to. I mean, doesn't hurt. I think UFC 293 is this weekend, so I'm getting into UFC. But yeah, I mean, like I said, just the goal with this is just to have fun, chat about stuff we want to, and just be ourselves. The back of the house boys, BOH boys. We got a social media. We got Twitter, X, Instagram. Not posting much on there at the moment, but just keep an eye out on there. And if you need to reach out to us, DM us if you have some suggestions, if you want to talk about stuff. I'd love to hear feedback. So I'm sure Buck would as well. So, and
Absolutely.
if you have anything to say, feel free. Nothing.
Oh, are you talking to me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, man, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, but like I said, I mean, just hopefully this is posted before the week 2 slate is started, or for college football, and obviously, if anything, hopefully just Thursday football had happened before. But yeah, I mean, just thank you for tuning in. Hope you enjoy and help us get better. And yeah, we'll hope to do this again next week and review week 2 and week 1. Get ready for week 3 and week 2. But yeah, thank you. If you need to say anything, feel free to say it. And we'll see you next time. See ya.